So my call to every farmer who's doing farming, especially poultry farming or any kind of farming when you're not around, or maybe when you're so busy or you're far, please get someone who has something to lose, someone who's experienced, get someone who's accountable, and someone who you can actually control, someone who can give you the results, the expected results. And you should also get someone who is passionate about farming, someone who is doing farming, because these things are possible. You can literally be successful, or you can succeed in doing farming when you're not around or when you're far, okay, or even when you don't have time, by just getting someone that you know, someone who is your relative and all that, to put them in the farm. Like, this is really a lot of money here to be wasted by inconsistent and unprofessional workers. That's my call to every farmer. If you need me, contact me on the numbers on the screen.
So recently, I visited a farm in Uganda. I was contacted by a client. He's in America and he wanted me to go and check out on his farm. Now he has workers, he has a manager, and I realized so many things. Actually, he realized so many things are not going on well. For example, so have you treated others? Have you treated others? Have you given them some antibiotics? Because every time you see chickens dying, you, even if you remove these ones or the sick one, you have to give the remaining one antibiotics. We're going to enter from? Where are we entering from? Let's enter. The other guy is waiting. Don't pour water in that side. He has so many birds and he has been injecting in money even when the birds started laying, even at their peak. Okay, like at their peak of laying. So he contacted me and he needed me to go and assess the situation, and I found so many things. I've found so many reasons as to why the farm is not performing the way it is supposed to perform. For example, I found that like birds were dying, because that is one of the reasons as why he was telling me, or he asked me to go to the farm. So he told me the birds are dying every time they are telling me that the birds are sick, the birds are not laying, they're not giving enough, or the production is low. And he also told me to go and see whether the workers are doing the right things. Now, these are some of the things that I discovered immediately when I reached at the farm. First of all, the farm was really dirty. Now, I found so many birds that were isolated because they were sick, and they were sick, they were isolated. They were around 50 to 70 birds that were isolated. But to my surprise, the birds were isolated and they were put in the same room that has the feeds. Okay, which means those birds are going to be picking on the feeds. They are free to pick on everything, and of course, that is not a solution. That is not an effective solution. So I asked them whether they treated the birds. Actually, they were not treating the birds. They just isolated them and they put them in the same room where they keep the feeds. Now that means actually you've not solved the problem. You just isolated them, and after you're going to put them there without treatment. It means you're going to put other birds in danger, because he had around 3,000 birds. That is a lot to be playing around with someone's money. So they were isolated, they weren't being treated, they weren't being taken care of, or they weren't giving them anything. So what they did is to always to isolate. I don't know whether they were going to put them back or they were going to sell them. That's on them. So that is one. Number two, I found that farm was really dirty. The hygiene, I'm going to put for you that video here. The hygiene was really like extremely poor. And of course, that is one of the reasons as why they were having dying birds each and every day. Because when I reached there, I found around 12, around 12 that had died that morning, because I reached there at around midday or before midday. And I found around 12 birds that were dead already on that day. And they told me they are still getting more. Okay, okay. Like, can you hear that? So the hygiene was really poor. I'm going to put for you the video and you'll be the judge. And I asked them why the place was like that. Now, this farm has two workers and one is a manager. Now, the manager recruited someone new and this person has never worked on a farm. This person has never been like trained. He doesn't know what to do. And I also found out that the manager himself did not know what to do. Yet my client thought the manager knew everything. How did I know that they were inexperienced? Now I asked the manager about the vaccines that they have administered to these birds, and they knew nothing. The manager knew nothing, and then the worker really totally knew nothing at all. He was like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know this, I don't know that. I was like, wow. So chances are high that these birds are dying because the vaccines weren't administered, or they were poor administered, or they were administering wrong vaccines. Because if you're working with these birds, you have to know, you have to be sure, you have to know that date, you have to be knowing how which vaccination is going to be administered to these birds, when, how to administer it, and the importance of that vaccine. Now they knew nothing. Now another reason is why I found out, or I think they are inexperienced. I asked them about the production, and all they knew was to pick the eggs. Now, these are two things. Either the manager did not tell me how much, like the exact number of the eggs that they were picking because they were selling the eggs, or, or he did not bother to take notes. I asked them for the records, because when you're doing poultry farming, you need to be a recorder. I asked for the records and they had nothing. They said, we don't record, just take care of the birds. And I was like, wow, wow, wow. Now, I entered in the downer coop and I found actually before that, the other worker was bringing out the drinkers. They weren't washing the drinkers. He was just putting water and taking it back. Now, the manager did not hope at all, which means 3,000 birds are many. There are so many birds to be taken care of by one person. So the manager is just there to, I don't know what to do, but they are supposed to be working, two of them, okay, because they are both workers. They are both staying on a farm. But he brought this guy and he's doing everything. So I realized he's just bringing out the drinkers, repress the water and putting it back without washing it. And the drinkers are dirty. So when I entered the other coop, I actually found out that most of the drinkers were empty. And it looked like they're taken some good hours without being given water because the drinkers were dry. It's not like ziweddemu amazzi, zakagwamu amazzi. They were dry, just like you can see this gem. Okay, so I also found out that actually they don't know how to manage the litter, which is one of the reasons that why these birds are getting stressed, and then they are getting diseases, and then the production is low, and then they are outbreak of diseases and all that. The litter wasn't well managed. Now I tried to check, and I actually realized because they told me that change the litter 5 days ago, they have put the litter. So when I tried to analyze the situation, I found that they just put on the top. I think they told them that I was going to inspect the place and they brought new litter, never take up Kungulu. So the downer one wasn't removed. Now I think because the coops are so big, because there are two coops. I think because they were so big, they just put on the top. Bayongerako bongezi, bayongerako. So the layers were many. Litter and weight, because I got a hole netandika okudigging naye ng'omanyi yakala amazzi gayiikamu enkuba wetonya, they don't put the tamplings, amazzi ne gayiika munda. So amazzi we gayiika, they just put another layer on the litter. So I found so many things. This is my call to everyone who is doing farming. When you're not around, or if you're very very far, get someone.
So my calls every farmer who's doing farming, especially poultry farming or any kind of farming when you're not around, or maybe when you're so busy or you're far, please get someone who has something to lose, someone who's experienced, get someone who's accountable, and someone who you can actually control, someone who can give you the results, the expected results. And you should also get someone who is passionate about farming, someone who is doing farming, because these things are possible. You can literally be successful, or you can succeed in doing farming when you're not around or when you're far, okay, or even when you don't have time. By just getting someone that you know, someone who is your relative and all that, to put them in the farm, like, this is really a lot of money here to be wasted by inconsistent and unprofessional workers. That's my call to every farmer. If you need me, contact me on the numbers on the screen.